Happy Friday, everyone. My name is Patrick Brown, and this is the Hockey Writers Grind Line, the Red Wings roundtable for the hockey writers. For the past 5 years, the Grind Line's been a weekly column for the hockey writers, and now we're coming to you in video form. That's right. You can now put a face to the name before you scroll down to comment on our articles. We're excited for another opportunity to discuss the Red Wings' latest news, rumors, and strategy with the Hockeytown faithful. You will notice we're still shorthanded. It has felt like the world's longest penalty kill, but our cohort Tony is still out giving teams lessons on how to not allow Sam Gagner to notch a hat trick against them. So until he completes that, you're stuck with us. And we wish you a good start to your weekend. We'll start out with joining us with Devin Little. Devin, how you doing today, bud?
Doing good. And, since you mentioned Sam Gagner, I got to say, hats off, scoring that hat trick. Well done. Wasn't expecting that.
I like it. Well done. And joining us as always as well, Ian McNaughton. Ian, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing really good, Patrick. This might be one of our most positive shows that we've done in a month. Is it about a month that this is like our most upbeat show that we got going on? I'm really excited to take part in it.
Back when we were applauding Brome for hitting a crossbar, yes.
Yes.
We were at 500.
Yes,
I do think the last time we had a show after a win was when we did the show with Blackhawks banter.
Yep.
Yeah. Because we were coming off a win. Everybody predicted Detroit to win those two games. Who could have seen what happened coming? But it's interesting to say the least that we will be joining the Blackhawks banter crew on Monday. Maybe we could put a little bookend on that jinx and flip the tables, flip the scripts a little bit.
Please.
So let's talk happy thoughts, meaning you're not allowed to talk about the power play. So let's talk happy thoughts here. Looking back on this last week, well, we won yesterday. So if you're counting, the Red Wings are unbeaten in their last one game. And they looked pretty good at the process. But let's talk about the week collectively, because obviously there was a little frustration. You see the Wings just did not go well with Florida. The back half against Chicago did not go well. Ian, let's start with you. Just kind of reviewing the week and your thoughts, hits, misses, good, bad, and ugly.
I was actually surprised at winning yesterday. I'm glad that we did win, but it felt like everything was so negative and everything was so down. And like you say, Pat, there's the power play, but just the team in itself, it just felt like bad vibes all around before heading to yesterday. And then we won yesterday against Nashville. So, maybe we're on the up. We're improving. I say that optimistically, but also cautiously. I'm like you said, good and bad, but I'm happy with at least yesterday's performance against Nashville. And hopefully we can carry that into the weekend against Chicago.
Devin, question over to you. Your thoughts on the week that was.
Yeah, so this team, it gives you the highs and the lows of a NHL season, as disheartening as it is to get shut out by the Predators, who are not a good team this year. You can 2 days later beat them 5-2 and get curly fries the old-fashioned way. So all in all, this team still looks exactly like what the record suggests they are. They've only got 6 wins on the year, so you can't get too excited, but at this point, when you're winning games 5-2 and you're struggling to score, you got to celebrate it. I'm not too nihilistic to look a win in the face and say I don't care. I do care. That was a good win last night.
I love that you referenced getting curly fries the old-fashioned way.
Yes.
With the hat trick. I posted that on Twitter, and I realized after the fact that I used a curly fries GIF.
Yeah.
With a Jack in the Box logo, but I tagged Arby's, and I found that pretty funny when it was all said and done. So that was fun. You're right. 5-2 Red Wings win. Gagner hat trick. That was fun. Everything before that Well, the 2-0 loss to the Predators, not good, but then obviously they'd beat the Panthers on Saturday. So
Yep.
a pretty decent week. The Red Wings, I forget the exact stat, but they're one of only a few teams still searching for actual back-to-back wins.
Yep.
They have not done that yet this year. It's tough to have back-to-back wins when you've played 20 games and only won 5. But, they're still searching for that. So hopefully, we'll see what tomorrow brings with the old Blackhawks rivalry. So we'll see. But I think part of what was so important in winning 2 of their last 3 games comes down to goaltending, right? Gave up 1 goal against Florida on Saturday, gave up 2 goals against Nashville. And let me tell you, Bernier, in my opinion, was actually the first star yesterday over Gagne because he made some saves that, Wings went up, it was tied. Wings went up, it was tied. And it could have gone either way. And Bernier made saves just to keep them in it that Nashville had a bunch of opportunities to score. So let's talk about the goaltending and your impressions of the goalies to this point of the season. I've got my thoughts, but Devin, we're going to kick it off to you first since you can still hear me and I haven't broken up yet and you can understand the question.
So you make a really good point. Gagne kind of got the headlines because of his hat trick, and I mean he deserves it. This team starved for that kind of offensive output.
Of course.
But you make a really good point. Bernier put them in a position to let that decide the game. He faced. I don't remember what the final shot totals were, but he faced at least 10 more shots than Pekka Rinne. And obviously he allowed far less goals. He just looked way sharper than Rinne on the other side. And just in general, Bernier started the last 3 games and he's looked good in every single one of them. Excuse me. And I do want to say, going into the season, I thought that we'd be kind of dedicated to the tandem, every other game for both Greiss and Bernier. And especially with how Greiss has started his season, I thought that that was definitely going to be the case, if not Greiss getting more starts. But I'm of the opinion now where while Bernier's feeling himself and playing like this, give him every start that he can handle. Obviously on back-to-backs, we got one coming up with Chicago. Greiss should probably see action in one of those. But generally speaking, I think that right now, the ball is Bernier's to run with.
Yeah, it's a really good point that you raised. Now, Greiss had some tough luck early in the season, a few winnable games early on, and the Wings couldn't score goals for him, and so he took the loss there. A couple of different losses. It took a while for him to get on the board, but Bernier has certainly stepped up as of late, and the job may be his to lose. Ian, what do you think about that?
I was with Devin on the tandem idea about having Greiss and Bernier, kind of split time throughout the season. I was doing research, I think it was Thursday, if not Wednesday, before yesterday's game on team save percentage. And I think the Red Wings were 7th in the league in team save percentage, if I'm not mistaken. It was something like higher than I thought it was. Top 10 for sure, but higher than I thought it was going to be because of Bernier and Greiss and how well they played. If Bernier's hot, he's hot. You got to play Bernier. Greiss will probably get the start either Saturday or Sunday against Chicago. I don't see either one starting both. But this is kind of Bernier's job to lose at this point. That's kind of the feeling I get. And you're just kind of playing with house money until it doesn't work anymore with Jonathan Bernier. So hopefully it lasts. Hopefully it works out well. But Bernier then Greiss, I think, is how the depth chart would look right now.
And let's not forget that last season we were in the same boat where we kind of figured it would be a tandem, every other game between Bernier and Howard. And as Howard fell off, Bernier really seized the moment and ran with it. He was kind of the unsung hero on that team last year. And it looks
Absolutely.
like he has not lost a step. So good for him. He's got a winning record on this team. That's crazy.
So let me throw out a little wild card here while we're still talking goalies. Because the Wings, we can agree, while I think everybody's in agreement, Bernier's arguably playing better right now and will probably get the nod on the front end of these things. Both goalies are certainly serviceable, right? So when we start looking at the goalie situation that the Red Wings have, an expansion draft upcoming, as well as a trade deadline upcoming, do you think there's anything that the Red Wings or that Steve Yzerman would be looking to do with any of these two goalies as the trade deadline approaches? And Devin, I'm going to start with you because you've been working the phones lately.
I sure have. So I'm actually really interested to see what happens in the coming months in regards to both the trade deadline and the expansion draft. I think that part of the reason that Yzerman gave Greiss the 2-year deal as opposed to a 1-year deal is so that they would have a goalie to protect in the expansion draft or potentially even expose. And he'd be enticing to Seattle in the sense that he has a year still on his deal. But Bernier, with how he's playing, if the right team came along and needed to address some goaltending issues, whether it's in a backup role or whatever, I think you'd get something nice for him. I thought that last year too, but
sure.
I like a team I think of off the top of my head that I know if I was in charge of, I'd be calling the Red Wings is Edmonton. And it's not just because Ken Holland's in charge of them. They could use some goaltending help. And Jonathan Bernier, if he's playing this well in front of this team, imagine what he would do if he had Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl in front of him, you know? I'm not going to make predictions or anything, but as long as both goalies are playing as well as they are, they give the Red Wings options, and it's never a bad thing to have options in this league.
Agreed. Ian, your thoughts on any potential trades before the deadline, or would you like to see, I won't call them your newly beloved Kraken, but I imagine you're going to have a little bit of a stake in the game, and would you like to see them pick up one of these goalies in the expansion draft?
The Thomas Greiss factor is really interesting, considering how well he performed with the Islanders before coming over to Detroit. Like, it's not like he was a poor goalie by any means. I mean, he was in a defensive system with the Islanders, but nevertheless, like, he was still putting up really good numbers regardless. I haven't really considered much of a trade with Bernier and Greiss just because of how hard it is to trade in these circumstances, especially with Canadian teams. It's really difficult coming up to Canada because any player traded to Canada, they have to quarantine for 14 days. And not to say that that's going to stop any trading happening. It just makes it difficult. And for the Red Wings, if they can get another asset or another draft pick or something out of, these goalies, I'm not totally against that. I mean, we're still rebuilding. We're still trying to collect pieces. I don't know what you would get or what the value for a Bernier or a Greiss would be. I mean, both guys are in their 30s. Both guys,
right? And even Greiss is up there in his 30s.
Yeah, like Greiss is on the back 9 of his career compared to the front 9.
For sure.
And I don't know what you would be able to get. I mean, I don't think you can get 2 second-round picks from the Oilers again, which would be cool. But I'm not opposed to it. I just like to see what kind of offers are out there because I'm not opposed to getting draft picks or another quality player if something like that comes around.
By the way, I say Greiss is up there in his 30s. I believe he's 35, which would make me older than Thomas Greiss, only by a year. But I should probably watch how I'm saying, oh, he's up there because I'm older than him. One more thought on goalies, and I'm just curious if you guys agree or disagree. Kind of looking at all this, how about Fleury and what he is doing? Did a bunch of teams miss out on that opportunity before the season started, or what? I mean, I just think what Fleury's been doing, and Vegas seems so desperate to dump him, and there were no takers, and everybody tried to work through. But I think that's an interesting storyline there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
sure.
Anyways, we certainly want to thank you, the viewer, for joining us today. Make sure you take our opportunity to subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you've got questions, post it in the comments. We pride ourselves in bringing you the very best content, both in print and video form. And a little like goes a long way. So make sure you check out every one of our alliterations that we've got going on. Blackhawks Banter, Sabres Scoop, Flames Face-Off, Maple Leafs Lounge, always cranking out great content. And of course, the OG show, Hockey Writers Live. They touch on everything important in the world of hockey, host some of the biggest names in the world of hockey, and you should check it out.
How many times did you have to practice the alliteration before you got on, by the way?
I think I did pretty good. I think I did.
No, you killed it.
And the answer is at least 10 times, Ian. So let's switch gears. We've talked about players who we've seen a lot of. Let's talk about a player who we've seen none of this year, and that would be Evgeny Svechnikov, who, though being called to the taxi squad, February 16th, 10 days ago, looked like maybe we'd finally see him, and we still haven't seen him. So what is going on with Svechnikov? Have we given up on him? What is it going to take for him to crack the lineup? Do you guys even want to see him in the lineup? Ian, we're going to start with you on this one.
I'd like to see him in the lineup. I'd like to see him get an opportunity. I think he deserves one. I don't think he hasn't earned one. And why not in a season like this where they're not going to be competing for a playoff spot and they're not, going anywhere? Why not give him an opportunity to play? I wouldn't mind it. I was thinking before last night, maybe I'd like to see him over like a Sam Gagne type or a Luke Glendening, but then Gagne got the hat trick, and so like
Glendening's winning 99% of his faceoffs.
So I mean, can't take those guys out of the lineup, but still, I'd like to see somehow Svechnikov get an opportunity somewhere somehow in the Red Wings lineup on a regular basis if they can.
Yeah, I think your last point is the best. And Devin, I'll swing it over to you. What good does it do having a former top 20 draft pick sitting on the taxi squad as opposed to playing somewhere, whether that's Grand Rapids or Detroit?
I'm glad that is how you teed me up, because that is kind of, yes, good job. We didn't rehearse this, folks. My biggest gripe with this whole situation is that it goes against everything that we've been told up until this point. The reason why Giovanni Smith is down in Grand Rapids, the reason why Michael Rasmussen is down in Grand Rapids, the reason why Taro Hirose is down in Grand Rapids is because if they aren't going to get big playing time with the Red Wings or big minutes, they want them to play in Grand Rapids where they'll get big minutes. All right, fine. We can debate whether or not that's a good thought process or not, but there's logic there, whatever. So then you call up Svechnikov, who has had the worst luck with injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And if anyone needs playing time, whether it's in the AHL or the NHL, wherever, if there's anyone in this organization that needs steady playing time, it is Svechnikov. And he's on the taxi squad just practicing. I do not understand what the point of calling him up to if they're not going to give him a look. Why is he not in Grand Rapids getting those big minutes? It boggles my mind why this is happening right now. I to some extent, I wonder if the organization is more or less just kind of given up on the kid, as bad as that is to say. They're kind of putting him in an unfavorable situation, maybe on purpose. But like Ian said, I think he deserves at least a look. Give him 5 games. If he does nothing, and he does nothing, you put him through waivers. Maybe some team grabs him, maybe they don't. But for him to just sit there and not do anything, it's bad asset management. And this team can't afford to do that.
Well, remember too, he cleared waivers.
Yes.
He cleared waivers. Was it before the season, right before the
Yes.
season started? And, you've always got the boilerplate answer of, well, I think it was Blashill who said, you kind of know what's going to happen with waivers, but you don't. You never fully know. And there was no issue with placing him on waivers earlier this year, and nobody claimed him. So obviously there's not a whole lot of demand for at least Evgeny Svechnikov's services. I can think of another Svechnikov who's fairly popular in the NHL, but
Mr. Specinicoff.
That's good. That's good. But so what do you do with him? He's, we all agree he's just sitting on the taxi squad practicing. I think we all agree that that's not the best place for him. So what do you do with him? Do you play him or do you send him to Grand Rapids? What do you do? Devin, start with you.
I give him at least 5 games in a Red Wings uniform. There's plenty of guys I could pluck from the lineup to put Svechnikov in. If he impresses me, he keeps playing. If he does nothing for me, he goes back down to Grand Rapids. Like we've already touched on, this team is going nowhere this season. Why not give it a shot?
Ian, what do you do with Svechnikov?
I'd play him, and maybe you can get a trade for him. Maybe you could trade him for something if he does really well too. Like, especially, I don't know what day approximately the deadline is. You guys probably know what day off. I can't remember what the day is off the top of my head.
It's in April. I don't remember what day exactly.
Yeah, it's much later than usual. But nevertheless, if you play him, you get him some time before the deadline. Maybe hype him up a little bit. Maybe even give him like a top 6 role, maybe one night, and really try and sell Evgeny Svechnikov.
Yeah,
maybe you get something for him because you're not getting anything with him now. So
that's
maybe just get something else that you might like. That's how I would do it. But
and
go ahead, Pat. Sorry,
it's all you, Devin. Floor is yours.
No, that's a great point, Ian. I mean, if you're just letting it be a dead asset, that goes back to what I said a minute ago. That's bad asset management. Give him a chance to increase his value at the very least. If you're done with him, pump him up so you can get a 3rd round pick for the dude. Like, it's just what's the point in having this kid? He's still 24. It's not like he's 28. Right. Like he's not a lost cause yet.
Yeah, and Devin, I think you kind of buried a lead that people tend to forget is he's had some bad luck with his health. He needs to show that he can play competitively and stay healthy at this level. I think sneaking him in there for 5 games or so, or maybe more, depending on how he's doing. I think that's a solid plan. I think, who knows, maybe pull a forward and throw a defenseman in there, go back to the 11-7 that worked last weekend against Florida. And sneak him in. So who knows? But regardless, I think we all agree him sitting in a hypothetical taxi, waiting for his call is not doing anybody any good. So that'll be interesting to see. On to our last topic of the night, and I've got my feelings, but I'll save mine for last. Obviously, we're in the middle of another rough season. Hasn't been a whole lot to cheer for. So I don't know about you, gentlemen, but I have kind of adopted a team that I've been cheering for. And by the way, in case you prepared this ahead of time, you're not allowed to say Tampa Bay because Eisman was the GM, because that's just not fair.
That was last season.
Right. Kind of a preview. We were all hoping it's a preview of what we'll see in a few years. But, we've all kind of adopted our own team. Gosh, as a Lions fan, I cheered for the Patriots for years just because of Tom Brady and his Michigan ties. So, Dev, I'm going to start with you. What is getting you through these tough seasons? Who are you cheering for? Who are you watching? What are you looking for as we kind of continue to see the Red Wings in the basement?
So I guess you could say that I'm thankful that I'm a hockey fan first and a Red Wings fan second, because it allows me to take a step back and just enjoy some quality hockey when I'm watching it. I do have my my secondary team. It will change starting next season. I was wearing my Seattle Kraken hoodie last show we did, I believe, or the show before that. And I've got a Kraken hat somewhere. I think I sent it to you guys in our little chat on Christmas. So once that team gets up and running, I'm going to jump aboard the Kraken boat. But in the meantime, a few years ago, another expansion team jumped on the scene, and I didn't jump on the bandwagon right away. But once they stamped their ticket into the playoffs, I kind of picked them as my team to like. So I guess little thing about me. When the Wings were in the playoffs, I would grow a playoff beard with them, and I would shave it when they got eliminated. And then once the Wings stopped going to the playoffs, I still wanted to do that. And so I would pick a team and I would grow a beard with them. And I picked Vegas that year because, they were the expansion team. I figured they'd be out in one round, maybe two.
Sure.
And they went to the Cup final. And that was just a fun run to watch. It was the most unbelievable thing. First year in the league, and they went as far as they did. And, I get it. There's a lot of fans out there that think they haven't paid their dues. So it sucks to see them just succeed overwhelmingly right out the gate. But I don't know. I like watching. I grew up a Red Wings fan. I like watching teams win. So Vegas wins, and they look good doing it. And they play kind of a hard-nosed style too. Like they're very much a West Coast kind of team. So yeah, I'm low key a Golden Knights fan until the Kraken get started.
And they have a drum line, which
yeah,
I absolutely love.
Like
a glow-in-the-dark drum line.
Yes, I am dying. Like it's a bucket list thing. I need to go to Vegas and see a game in Vegas because I mean it's a show.
I like it, Devin. I like it. And for the record, I live a 4-hour drive from Vegas. So when things are safe again, we may have to do a Grindline show from the Vegas Strip, and then
there you go.
Then check out a game at T-Mobile Arena. Sounds like a plan to me.
The Grindline vlogs.
I like it. I like it. Mr. McNaughton, enlighten us. Who's your horse when we're down on the Red Wings?
Oh, I see what you did there. Wow. That's a 5-star transition right there, Pat Brown.
For those who don't, it's the Anaheim Ducks, right?
Yeah, no, I'm a big New York Islanders fan. No, if you don't know, I bought a Calgary Flames Blasty jersey because I love the jersey, and I'm a big fan of Matthew Tkachuk and his brother Brady, who doesn't play for Calgary, but I love the Tkachuk brothers. I get a lot of hate for that, especially in Vancouver. That's fine. I don't care. They're entertaining. I really like watching them. And that's kind of like what Devin's thing is. Like, I like watching good hockey, and they're entertaining. Like, I just find them fun to watch. And if you don't like them, whatever, that's fine. In terms of I was pondering this today. In terms of a second team, trying to think of a second team that I really... I mean, Vegas is cool. Seattle's cool. Again, actually, I'm kind of rooting for the Islanders a little bit because I have them being like the East Division team. Like I think I said that at the beginning of the year that they'll be the top team. Like they'll finish in the top 4. So I kind of have to stick with that. And Matt Barzal is almost a god with how talented he is. His shot is even better this year. So kind of a Matt Barzal, I guess, rooting interest with the Islanders. But it's really like the Tkachuk brothers I really love. I don't root for Toronto. They're fun to watch. I like watching Toronto. In terms of an actual team I root for, I'll say the Kraken. I'll say the Kraken are my second team because I'm originally from Seattle and I have a shirt and a hat. I think I either have a hoodie or I'm getting a hoodie. So Go
Awesome.
Kraken. It's Kraken.
Get Kraken.
Sounds like I'm going to Vegas with Pat and going to Seattle with Ian. It's gonna be fun.
I love it. We should do the world, or at least maybe not the world tour, but the North American tour.
Yeah, there you go.
And
Yes.
I love the Pacific Northwest as well. So speaking of Kukshuks, right? There was a rather famous older Kukchuk who made his living out here in the desert. Out here in the desert. Now, granted, this was back in the days when guys like Charlie Baksh were quarterbacking for the Lions, right? So this is a relic. And conversely, I think when Charlie Baksh was quarterbacking for the Lions, was the last time the Red Wings scored a power play goal. But despite that, I've been here in the Phoenix area now for, hard to believe, 7 years. Kind of immediately adopted them as my second team. Became a lot easier when the Wings switched over to the East. And the only unfortunate part about that was they only come out here once a year, every year. So, except for this year, obviously. But I've really enjoyed the ride with the Coyotes over the years. Last year was fun with the craziness and uncertainness of the playoffs, and starting with that play-in round, they surprised a lot of people and made it through past Nashville, only to run into a Colorado buzzsaw, which they were not the first nor the last. But regardless, I had a lot of fun cheering for them. It's a fun area. I hope they get it together as an organization. It's hard to believe this is their 25th year of existence since moving from Winnipeg. But there's always been uncertainty, and I just keep cheering for them to continue to have hockey here in the Valley. Can't ignore the extremely damning report that came out from The Athletic earlier. Was it this week or was it last week, about the culture within the organization? And that's incredibly disappointing to see. When they brought in new ownership, it seemed like that was changing, and they had an owner who was financially sound, so that they didn't have to worry about relocation. And then just to see what has happened within the culture of that team has been disappointing a little bit. So as a fan base, we hope they turn that around and stay here in the Valley for years to come. But that's kind of been my team the past few years as we've been watching the Red Wings kind of struggle through. And that, in addition to the Iser Bolts, as my brother would say, and cheering for the Lightning back when he was GM there. So
I was going to say two things on the Coyotes. Gila River Arena, if you haven't been or you haven't gone, one of the most underrated, underappreciated arenas in the league. I would highly recommend it. I think I've been like 2 or 3 times myself. Really love it. And the Coyotes uniform combinations, like the reverse retro, the Kachinas, also very underrated. Maybe some of the best uniform combinations in the whole league. So that's not a bad pick, Pat.
The Kachinas are... I know like the dark ones, like they're pretty much their go-to home one now, but they need to just full on like get rid of the red Coyote, because sublime.
Agreed. The Kachina jersey is fantastic, and that's part of the reason why I fell in love with that reverse retro. Because it paid a little bit of homage to that. Obviously, it was a little bit more out there, but it had some of the original greens that were in that original Kachina jersey back in the late 90s that you saw like Jeremy Roenick wearing, and
Tkachuk.
And Keith Tkachuk. Yeah. And all that. So good stuff.
That's a team that to kind of go off of what you're just saying, they have really gone through it in the last decade when it comes to ownership and just everything. That's a team that you do want to see do well, because I do think that, we've seen it back in 2012, right? When they went to the conference final, I believe it was.
Yeah.
They had, they get knocked for not having fans in the building, but they did then. Like, yep.
It was sold out, and they had Whiteout going all over in Glendale for the conference.
Oh yeah,
which
was
impressive.
The whiteouts were fun. They were even more fun, I hate to say, in the late 90s when the Red Wings would go there and they wouldn't be able to successfully pull off a whiteout. because Red Wing fans in their red would show up. There was an editorial in the Arizona Republic here. I'll have to find it after the show. It was late 90s. A sports columnist here actually wrote an appeal to Red Wings fans in the Valley to wear white, even if they were going for that playoff series. Spoiler alert, they didn't. But I agree. I'm nervous about the state of hockey in Arizona, to be honest, because with Seattle joining, that makes an even 32 teams. So you're not going to see another expansion team, I don't think. And there's a definite interest in bringing hockey to Texas, beyond Dallas. So you're San Antonio, you're Houston. I've heard big players and potentially bringing in a team. And I can't think of any other team around the league that would be more likely to go other than Phoenix, especially Arizona, especially given Vegas's success. But
and that too. One of the things that I was excited about when Vegas got announced and like it was going to be a thing, I thought that was a natural rival for
sure
for the Coyotes. And
totally
it's weird
agree.
Because now the Golden Knights and the Sharks are like bitter rivals, but it's a duel in the desert. Come on.
Yep. Totally agree. That's a great call out. And, it was almost like that Red Wings Hawks natural, you're 4.5 hour, 5 hour drive away. So I agree, but we'll see. Hopefully it works out. They've got good programs here. Austin Matthews, a product of hockey out here. So hockey in Arizona is no laughing matter, and we're pulling for you, Coyotes. We're pulling for you. That's it. All right, so we're going to finish up today. I want to go around real quick. Devin, Ian, you guys tell me, what are your expectations for the back-to-backs this weekend against Chicago? What do you expect? Devin, we'll start with you.
I just, we closed our last show, or not closed, but at one point we got asked what you were expecting or what you were hoping for. And you had said, I just want one power play goal. I just want one win. I'm so tired of losing to the Blackhawks. Please just give me one.
Ian, to you. I mean, I kind of think they'll lose both. Just part of me I'm trying to be optimistic. I'm going to try and be optimistic and say we win one, but I don't know what it is. Like the Blackhawks, just for whatever reason, just have the Red Wings number this season. That Lankinen guy, by the way, don't know if you guys have heard of him. Played really good against the Red Wings, and for a team who I had no idea who the starting goaltender was going to be this season. Really even more surprising seeing that. So I'll for in terms of positivity, I'll say that the Red Wings win one. But I have a feeling that we're probably going to be talking next week about not winning any games.
And between Lankinen and Patrick Kane with 192 assists this year, Kane has taken that team that was supposed to be dead in the water. Many had finishing below the Red Wings this year. He has put them on his back. Last I checked, he had 30 points, 9 goals, and 21 assists. Unreal considering they're rebuilding, or more like reloading. But
no. Stan Bowman said at the beginning of the season, we're going to be rebuilding now, and Patrick Kane's like, lol, okay, we're going to be rebuilding, and it's just played normally.
And
exactly,
and for him to do that, and they don't have Jonathan Toews, and they don't have Kirby Dach. This team should be dead in the water, but they're not.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Exactly. So
I hate it.
For what it's worth, and I'm going to preface this with our shared Blackhawks banter column that we did that ran today. I wrote before yesterday's game, and given how I ended last week completely down, saying the Red Wings were the worst team in the league, which they are not the worst team in the league, I am going to be the voice of unreason and optimism and say the Red Wings win both games this weekend and end up on a 3-game winning streak when it's all said and done, counting yesterday's win as well. Greiss and Bernier both end up with wins, and I think we see hopefully Brome get a few more, but Larkins do. Either way, It's a sweep. I'm calling it.
Not for nothing, but I feel like we deserve some good luck or something positive with all the times we've been with the Blackhawks banter crew, and they've had all the joy being on our show. Like,
Totally agree.
just saying.
Totally agree.
Just saying. Just throwing that
So,
out there.
Absolutely agreed.
We can go on their show and just be like, yeah, pretty good weekend, you know. How about you guys? That'd be fun. I would enjoy it.
Yeah.
Well, we will see in a matter of 48 hours how well this show has aged. So, all of that said, gentlemen, always a pleasure. I apologize for the technical difficulties earlier, but appreciate you taking the time to join. For those of you watching, again, please like, subscribe. Certainly appreciate you taking the time out of your super busy day to gather our thoughts on the state of Red Wings hockey. And we will see you next week. So thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend, and go Wings.